Hey guys, welcome back for another video. It is time for the national championship coming up, not this coming Monday, but the Monday after, January 19th, 7:30 p.m. ESPN. You have the Miami Hurricanes 10 seed going up against the number 1 seed, the undefeated 15-0 Indiana Hoosiers. Obviously, the games just wrapped up, semifinals. We had our Hurricanes versus Ole Miss on Thursday. We had Indiana versus Oregon on Friday. Two great games. One was a complete blowout. One was an exciting game that went down to the final seconds to a Hail Mary. Miami succeeded. The Hoosiers succeeded. They'll be facing off. There's a lot of understories going on between these two teams, but it makes for a fun one. It's still about a week and a half out. It is never too early to start looking at this game and just giving up some of our ideas on what might potentially happen. There's a lot of things that are going to change between now and when the game actually kicks off. Spreads are going to change. The over-under is going to change. The fan vote's going to change. There's unknowns. There could potentially be some injuries. There could be guys that are injured that each of these teams gets back. So we won't give our final score prediction yet because we want to see what happens, especially with the Miami secondary. They have like 3 guys that got banged up in the very last game. Might not be playing, might be playing, probably going to play, but we want to wait till just a little closer just to make 100% certain of that. Either way, guys, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment below. Tell me who you think is going to win this game, but more importantly, what do you think the final score is? Tell me your final score in the comment section, and I'm going to respond to every single comment. If you want to sign up for one of our member teams, check out the pinned comment below. So here it is, coming up in 10 days or so, January 19th, ESPN, number 10, the Miami Hurricanes, 13-2. There's a lot of people thought Miami had no business being in the playoffs. I was not one of them. I said the entire time, head to head, it has to mean something. If it doesn't mean anything, then nothing means anything. The games on the field, they don't matter. But that's why you play the game. Miami beat Notre Dame fair and square, but I thought Notre Dame should have also made the playoffs. I thought Alabama should have been booted out after they got their backs blown off of them in the SEC championship. But either way, Alabama lost to. Doesn't matter. We are down to our final 2 teams, but Miami shows they definitely did deserve to be in. We pretty much picked Miami every single game. They were the underdog so many times. Things stood true, and they are in the national championship. Who would have thought preseason-wise that Miami, after losing Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick, who's having a really good season in the NFL. He got hurt that last game, but overall solid numbers for being on a god-awful, pathetic Tennessee Titans team. But at least they have a foundational building block. They can build off of him going forward. They just have to hire a head coach. But this isn't a Tennessee video. Miami, Carson Beck comes in, the Georgia starter, the SEC accolades, blah, 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 blah. Bad season last year with Georgia. Gets hurt, comes to Miami. Slowly getting better every single week. That little 3-game stretch where they lost to Louisville, lost to SMU, actually on our preseason video, believe it or not, we actually had them losing both those games, finishing the season 10-2. But Miami, with him, Carson Beck, they got away from a little bit of that air raid system, started running downhill. It worked wonders from him, working the play action. Fletcher took off. Pringle took off. Lyle took off. That's where this team really flexed their muscle, their size in the trenches. We knew that was going to make a difference in the playoffs. Everyone wanted to talk Big Ten football, SEC football. Look, I don't care what conference you're in. If you're good, and that will show in the product on the field. Mario Cristobal, Mirabal, they succeed at line of scrimmage, trench warfare football. That's what's made this Miami team so good, is just leaning on teams, especially second half. They own the second half. Obviously, almost 40 minutes of time of possession versus Ole Miss. Crazy stuff. And that defense gets after Ruben Bain, Mesidor, both those guys coming off the edge. There is no better pass rush in college football. Secondary has been playing well. Brown's been banged up. Frederic banged up last game. Lucas suspended. That was complete garbage. That was not a targeting either way. And they called it targeting, so he'll have to sit the first half out. But you give Miami credit, you got to give Indiana credit. How about Kurt Signetti? He says it all the time. Google me. All I do is win. That's the famous. If they win, I don't know if there's a more remarkable story beginning to end than Indiana basically coming out. They didn't even come back from the dead. They were never alive. They were the most losing team in college football history last year. Dead last, never won 10 games before in over a century of football. They go 11-1 regular season last year. Finally, for the first time, they come out now. They're 15-0. If they win this natty, they'll be the only 16-0 team in college football history. I'm not talking about 1880s college football. I'm talking about since people have actually been keeping track of what the heck was going on for at least the last century. Give this team some credit. Completely working the portal in 2 years. Curt Cignetti's completely flipped this team from a laughingstock, bottle barrel team. They might win the national championship. They're actually favored to win the national championship, both with Vegas and with the fan vote. Fernando Mendoza. Having watched college football for a long time and watching a lot of games, I knew who Fernando Mendoza was from his time at Cal, especially when he had that Cal-Miami game last season. They gave him a lot of airtime because he wanted to come to Miami, asked to come to Miami. Miami said no. He was at the Manny Diaz football camp, blah, 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 blah. His father played football with Mario Cristobal in high school. They know each other. When he hit the portal, some people thought Miami was going to go after him. Maybe they thought that it wasn't professional to pursue someone that they know. It's probably not the case because pretty sure Mark Cristobal's nephew is on the team. But no matter what, they didn't go after him. Probably a mistake because he might be the number 1 overall pick in the NFL. Miami could have back-to-back number 1 picks. Cam Ward, Mendoza. That's not the way it worked out. He goes to Indiana. This team's never looked back. He's the Heisman winner. He could go undefeated. He could win the Heisman. He could win the Big Ten. He could win the national championship. For a player. What a remarkable season. But give even more credit to the team because it's not just Mendoza. Yes, he's good. Yes, he's been the most consistent elite quarterback this season in the entire country. But it's the team. It's what Cignetti and that coaching staff has done. The offense, the defense, top 5 defense, top 5 offense. They are probably the most complete, well-rounded team in the country. They are head and shoulders the best team in the nation in the 2025 season. But Miami has shown their trek to the playoffs. They don't give a crap. They're going to compete with you at the line of scrimmage, force you into their style of football. But will they be able to do that versus Indiana, who basically turns out the same exact product every single week in and week out? They never have a letdown. Yes, they had that close game for Penn State, but they ended up winning it. They dominated the fourth quarter. Let's go ahead and take a look at what the fans are saying. This is actually pretty lopsided. Indiana, 68.3% chance to win. The Miami Hurricanes, 31.7% chance. So less than a 1/3% of the fans thinking that Miami Hurricanes are going to win. We'd like to call things like they are. The Hurricanes, they're not the most popular team. A lot of people hate Miami. It's on the subconscious level. They say, oh, that's a tough team. It's good. But they actually want to see Miami lose. I don't know what it is about Miami, but there are people that downright hate them. That's why they call themselves the U, because it feels like it's their university against everybody else. But Indiana, they're not a has-been. They're a never were. They are a true Cinderella story. They fought their way back. It shows what the transfer portal has done. It has even college football out 3 straight seasons. Where's the SEC at? We said this entire thing, nothing against the SEC at all, but everyone kept saying, oh, the SEC top 25 teams, top 25 teams. A lot of them were playing garbage out of conference schedules, thus, and they didn't play anyone out of conference. So really, how do you know who they are? Because they beat a ranked Tennessee team who's not ranked and finished 8-4. Let's be honest, there's just not a lot of parity there. You can say the same thing about conference. I do think the SEC is easily the deepest conference in the country, but the Big Ten can say, they have the best teams at the top, maybe the cream of the crop at the top. Hoosiers, what a talented team. A lot of people pulling for them, not because they hate Miami, but because it's just such a good story. And maybe Curt Cignetti is the new Nick Saban. I'm not saying Saban is still the GOAT nonetheless, but Cignetti's in his mid-60s, so it's not like he's going to be coaching college football for 2 decades, but it's a good story to watch. If you're a college football fan, Miami is a blue blood program. I don't care what anyone else says. When they did a college football top 10 blue bloods, Miami did make the list. Indiana, they're not. So it's just a good story. So not everyone rooting for Indiana is doing so because they don't like Miami. There's a lot of people that do, but a lot of people just want to see the good story. And this would be a really big game for the Big Ten because that'd be 3 straight national championships. The Hoosiers, 7.5-point favorites. It's a pretty big spread for a national championship game. The over-under 48.5. We had Indiana covering the spread versus Oregon. A lot of people, we had Miami covering it also, which they did. But the Hoosiers, people haven't really been watching them. They're not a small team because their fans have been showing up. That stadium, 80-90% red. The Hoosier fan base, they were there in massive support. You have all these famous people coming out of the woodwork now, wanting to donate money, jumping on the bandwagon because it's the cool thing to do. That's a bunch of crap, but still donate the money there. Help the transfer portal out. Miami, 31.6 points a game, throwing for 254.6, running for 154.6. But this ground game in the playoffs has been on another level. Malagoa, Cooper, that offensive line, so talented, so deep, so huge. One of the biggest offensive lines in the country. I said when the playoffs started, Miami has the best offensive line in the nation. I don't care who won the award for top offensive line. That's gibberish. It's the Miami Hurricanes. They're giving up 14 points a game. That's a top 5 defense in the country. They get after it. And how about their performance in the playoffs? 3 to the Aggies, 14 to who a lot of people consider the best team in the country, the Ohio State Buckeyes, and 27 this past weekend to Ole Miss after they throttled Georgia. What a performance from that defense getting after it. And that's with all of the penalties, dropped interceptions. They only gave up 27 versus a top 10 offense, the number 2 yardage offense in college football. They give up 206.1 through the air, 86.5 on the ground. Number 5 rush defense in college football. But the Hoosiers, they see you and they'll match you. They come in here 42.6 points a game. That's a top 3 offense in the nation. They have the edge on offense. They're throwing for 242.7. They're running for 218.3. This might be the most complete team and balanced offense in the country. Practically 50-50 split down the middle. They can throw, they can run. They have a quarterback. Mendoza's not a dual threat by any means, but he is a mobile quarterback. What I mean by that, if you flush him out of the pocket, he will take off. He will scramble. He will pick up first downs with his legs. That's going to test the linebackers. And those D's coming off the edge, you got to bottle him up. Keep him in that pocket, and the linebackers got to make sure he can't step up and take off right down the middle, because he will. He's always keeping his eye looking down the field, though. That's one thing that you really have to appreciate about him. What a good team. And they're giving up 11.1 points a game. It's top 3. So Miami, Indiana's defense, Miami's defense, let's just say that they both cancel out. I think Miami has the best defense in the nation this season, but Indiana, them both being top 5 defenses, it cancels out. I don't care who's 1. I don't care who's 5. That's close enough. Indiana gets the edge overall. They have a top 3 offense in the country and a top 3 defense. Crazy stuff. They're giving up 185.9 to there. One of the best secondaries. This might be the best secondary in the country. 75 yards given up on the ground. They swapped with the Red Raiders of who was number 1. This is the number 1 rush defense. Miami number 5, Indiana number 1. I think Miami has the edge rush defense because their defensive line is the best in the country. That front 7 as a core is the best in the nation. Indiana's right with them. There's just a little bit of a size disadvantage. The Hurricanes are the bigger team, the far bigger offensive line. Their offensive line is huge. There's guys 6'8", 6'5", 330 to 370. These are massive bodies. Mass moves, the word that rhymes with that. That's the old adage, and they definitely do that. They will be able to lean on the Indiana defensive front with that offensive line. Indiana, they're not big, but they're quick and they're schemed well. They will get wore out second half. The only thing that they can hope for is their offense controls the first half enough to where Miami just can't lean on that run second half. They got to start airing it out, and that's not where Carson Beck wants to be. He doesn't want to be throwing 40 times for one game because they're trying to play catch-up. Miami wants to control the clock, control time of possession, 7 to 8 minute drives every time they possess the ball, just sucking up quarters, keeping the ball away from that Indiana top 3 offense. Looking at Carson Beck's stats, 3,600 yards, 29 touchdowns, 11 picks. He had what sent them to the national championship, Carson Beck's legs, scrambling and running for the first down. They have Fletcher. They have, Lyle just went in the portal. They have Pringle. They have Brown, deep running back room. They got the smash. They got the dash. They have power. They have speed. They have Malachi Tony, the best freshman in the country, 1,100 yards, 99 receptions. Give this man one catch, and he's at 100 receptions for a freshman. That is crazy. They have Marion stepped up big, C.J. Daniels, JoJo Trader, Butterfingers. That's what I like to call them. Hold on to the ball for the love of God, man. You were wide open. There was no one around you for 50 feet. Just hold on to the ball. So much talent there. Get the ball to your playmakers in space, but they got to catch it out. But he has so much promise. Don't want to knock him at all. So many weapons on this team. Looking at Indiana, Fernando Mendoza putting up video game numbers. 41 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, multiple rushing touchdowns, 3,400 yards. He's efficient. He's accurate. Might be the most accurate quarterback in the nation. I know Sayin technically had the high completion percentage, but we all know what happened to Sayin versus Miami front 7. They have Hemby. 1,100 rush yards. They have Cooper, Surratt. They have size. They can work the slot. They can do a little bit of everything. How do they hold up versus this defensive line, especially with Miami potentially down some of their guys in the secondary? Can that front seven get enough pressure on Mendoza where he doesn't have time to throw the ball? They do have a very quick release. This is a tough game. We're not going to pick final score in this video because you just want to wait to see what happens with injuries. Guys get hurt. Practice. There's still a long runway to the game comes up. But if you'll recall, in my bracket prediction video, when I did the bracket predictions on ESPN, which is the site that we are using right here, I picked Indiana to win it all. And just to be honest, I do not see any reason why I'm going to come off of that. If anything, they have far surpassed expectations so far this playoffs. We had Miami winning games. We've been pulling for Miami, such a good team, but they can win this game. Do not underestimate Miami. Miami beat the Buckeyes worse than Indiana beat the Buckeyes. Indiana won 13-10. Miami won 24-14. I don't care what anyone says. They've had a great playoff run for the Hoosiers, no doubt about that. But facing off this physical team, this is the best team Indiana's seen the entire year. Yes, this is the best team Miami's seen, but Miami's been through a gauntlet. They've been through a tougher playoff run. They had the toughest playoff run of any team this year. They had to go to College Station, beat the Aggies, and they had to beat the defending champs, the Buckeyes. They had to beat Ole Miss, which was the last SEC team standing, and now they're playing the number one team, Indiana. They got to sit out the first round because they won the Big Ten, number one team in the country. That's not a knock at all. They won it, so they definitely deserve to get that time off. But Miami, they've already beaten, 4 top 10 teams so far this season. They are ready for this game. They will be ready to go. They got to get to Mendoza. It's not optional. They got to get to him. They have to hit him. They have to get him on the ground. Indiana, you just have to do what you've been doing the entire year. I don't think they're going to be able to run on Miami like they ran on the Ducks. This front seven's too good. They shut down the run. They're bigger than the Hoosiers. They're not going to get pushed around. Nobody has pushed around Miami. Even in their losses, SMU, Louisville, they lost because of those god-awful, pathetic turnovers. Nobody has moved them off the line of scrimmage, no matter who they've played, top offensive lines. The Aggies, the top SEC offensive line. They gave up the least amount of sacks, the most rushing yards in the SEC, and they didn't do anything versus Miami. So Miami can win it, but I got to go with Indiana. It looks like it is just their year right now. So in our breakdown, the Hoosiers walk away with a hard-fought, well-earned win, 16-0 undefeated. So, guys, that's it. That's our college football playoff prediction for the national championship. We have the Indiana Hoosiers beating the Miami Hurricanes. It's a lot closer to a 50-50 game, in my opinion. But I picked the Hoosiers when the playoffs started. I picked Miami to battle it out in those games. But I see no reason for me to come off of the Hoosiers prediction. Miami can win it, but give me Indiana to win the national championship and remain undefeated 16-0. First team to ever do that. Guys, hit that like button, subscribe, drop a comment down below. Who do you think wins this game? And what are your final score predictions? Leave that in the comment section. I will respond to every single comment. If you want to sign up for one of our member teams, check out the pinned comment down below. And as always, thanks for watching.